It's amazing what reviews can do. I mean, Helloween, not my favorite band because it's not really my style of music, but sometimes I love the over-the-top metal cheese of the early 80s records. Great, catchy, classic stuff. And looking at the raving reviews for their The Dark Ride album, there, there just has to be something to it. On top of that, the promise of Helloween playing in a dark style sounds just too good to be true, doesn't it? Well, it sounds too good to be true for a good reason. It's awful, terrible, horrendous, painful, disgusting, annoying, unnerving, exhaustingly crappy, and just plain and simple, very bad music. I cannot see how an album so generic and uncaptivating can deserve any bit of praise. If a band was way better 15 years before, you aren't really supposed to award them for turning worse and worse over the years, are you? So why do people think this is appropriate? Do not ask me. And the absurd allegations of this being dark. Right. I guess no one here has ever heard of Samael's Ceremony of Opposites or Hellhammer's Apocalyptic Raids or Emperors in the Nightside Eclipse or Amebic's Merciful Fate, Rotting Christ, anything. Even Cradle of Filth is darker than the darkest night and the deepest emptiness of intergalactic space compared to this outrageous piece of happy, fluffy flower metal. What is supposed to be here to qualify this album as dark? That two songs sound like they are exact copies of Alice Cooper songs? Or that the verses of their two ballady songs sound like him, H.I.M., the Ville Valo band? Or the two few-second short, cheesy synth intros that sound like a third-rate independent horror flick through the mud because they were just too infantile to create any genuine horror feeling. This album is as dark as an episode of Dharma and Greg is a representation of the true punk rock spirit. Now what this really is an entirely different phenomenon. And now don't get me wrong, I'm not your average basher of modern power metal. I'm just not too much into the genre and not too familiar. I like the 80s classics such as Running Wild's Death or Glory or Helloween's own Walls of Jericho, and I've heard a bit of Sonata Arctica and Rhapsody to justify a sarcastic remark about these bands' questionable place in a genre that's supposed to be heavy here and there, but it doesn't really invoke a deep, passionate rage within me. Not as long as I don't have to listen to something like this, because this album pretty much fulfills every prejudice everyone unfamiliar with modern European power metal could have about that flower metal thing. I'm almost tempted to drift off into a track-by-track review because every single song just manages to insult the ears with a different form of audio torture than the other. Like I said, almost. So let me just make a brief summary of what you can expect from this album. I have already mentioned the two supposedly dark songs that are exact replica of Alice Cooper songs, the two ballady songs that for the most part manage to sound exactly like him, H.I.M., the Black Finnish band, with a slight heavy metal edge. Yeah, promising start already, isn't it? Well, another bummer is the two songs that fulfill pretty much the worst prejudice the bashing faction has about flower metal. The songs that sound like heavy metal covers of We Are the World, the Michael Jackson song. And other all-star Help the Poor Children atrocities. all over the nations is particularly horrible in this, and it easily qualifies as by far the worst song on this album. Not that it was an easy choice with all the tough competition. The rest of the album is pretty much just your average happy power metal songs, excessively generic and almost too silly to be true. Let me just take Mr. Torture as an example. First of all, the lyrics. Mr. Torture gives pain with his whips and his chains. He knows just what you crave, Mr. Torture. If you're feeling alone, then just pick up your phone. Dial 1800 Mr. Torture. Need I say more? These lyrics give pain. Empty of wit and mundane, I know just what you crave. To bang your head against the desk in despair when hearing this song. The song's arrangement is equally intelligent, I'm not kidding. Plus, I'm fairly certain I have heard the vocal melody of the chorus before, and I think Manowar are the lucky ones lending their compositional talent to this masterpiece. I figure they must be really proud. This album is just horrible beyond description, and it's truly painful to listen to. I honestly have no idea where the high praise for this sonic instrument of mass ear insult came from, but maybe all other people just accidentally put on the wrong album before reviewing. Maybe Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1 or 2, who knows. Either ways, don't let other reviews fool you. This isn't dark, and most certainly not good. This is about 5% the creative talent that Helloween once used to display a very, very long time ago. I think 5%, 0.5 out of 10 should be the appropriate score for this atrocity of an album as well.